Welcome, viewers. So this is episode 3 of the question Australian women were never told to ask, transgender legal protection, women's sex-based rights, and the courtroom reality. I'll come back to part 4, point number 4, the central collision point. We spoke about how Monica Smith, the lady from Victoria, she brought a legal action against the state of Victoria, and Victoria police are over arrests during the Melbourne COVID lockdown protests, and the court found that 2 of her 3 arrests were unlawful and awarded her $4,000 in damages. However, because she rejected a pre-trial settlement of $15,000 and ultimately received less than that amount at trial, the court ordered her to pay a substantial portion of the government's legal costs, reportedly at roughly between $200,000 and $250,000. So you can win, but they'll still punish you. Okay? You're up against powers that a lot of people have great things going on, but by the time they try and get through the courts, they're broke, and that's how they diminish you. That's how they abolish you. Okay? So the conflict doesn't appear in every setting. It appears where access to sex-based boundaries is disputed. The courtroom collision usually takes this form. The person asserts gender identity protection. A woman, organisation, service, business or institution asserts sex-based boundary protection. The legal system must then determine whether the exclusion, distinction, condition or policy is unlawful discrimination or a lawful sex-based measure. And this is the precise point women must understand. The question's not, do transgender people have rights? Yes, they do. The question is not, do women have rights? Yes, they do. The question is, when 2 rights appear to conflict, what legal principle governs the outcome? Well, that's the question Parliament has not clearly resolved to the satisfaction of many, because it can't resolve what's set in stone. Right? It has to change it. Michaelia Cash, the laws have to be changed. They have to be changed. And because it has not become clearly resolved, citizens become test cases. Sal Grover, Kira Lee. I forget Kira Lee's second name. Hang on, I better respectfully get it. Yeah, Kira Lee Smith, do excuse me. I'm trying to juggle a lot, and I'm doing a lot of work at the moment on this to try and help people understand why this just isn't making sense. Kira Lee Smith became widely known in Australia through campaigns opposing the participation of transgender women in female sports and advocating for sex-based protections for women and girls. And she's associated with Binary Australia. Okay, Kira Lee. And because it has been clearly resolved, has not been clearly resolved, all of this, citizens become test cases, e.g. Sal Grover, Kira Lee, and multiple others. In a lot of ways, also Smith. Miss Smith, what was her name again? There's so many now coming out. Monica, they're all test cases, but test cases that went up against laws that were designed not to lose. Now, businesses become test cases, women's groups become test cases, apps become test cases, services become test cases, sports becomes test cases, courts become parliament repair mechanisms. And the point is, the legal battlefield is not rights versus no rights. It is protected status colliding with protected sex-based boundaries. Part 5.5. What courts actually examine. Now, a court will not usually decide a matter by asking who has the strongest social media argument. A court examines the legal frame, because a lot of people said, well, there was 2 women in that court case. Why didn't they get it? That's the first instinctive question. If there was women judges in there, how could they not defend the women? Well, they possibly did. But there's nothing they can do about it if they're restrained by the law. They've probably put 2 women in there to try and, edge it a bit for the women. But you can't if they're bound by the perimeters and boundaries of the law. So a serious court-facing argument must therefore anticipate questions such as: what statute applies? What protected attribute is alleged? What conduct occurred? Was there indirect discrimination? Was the treatment because of gender identity? Was the condition, viewers, was the condition requirement or practice reasonable? Was there an applicable exemption? Was the sex-based distinction legally justified? Was the purpose, privacy, safety, fairness, dignity, trauma recovery, association, or another legitimate objective? Was that the purpose? Was it privacy? Was the response proportionate? E.g., Sal Grover, Roxy Tickle, you're not welcome. Was that proportionate up against the 2013 law? Was there amendments? Was there a less restrictive way to pursue the same objective? No. No, in the case of Grover, no. No. And as a man, honestly, come on, you guys. You just don't need to be in female sport. I'm 100% with Kira Lee and the rest of it. Not against, again, don't play me the fool by saying you're against transgender. I don't give a crack what you do as long as it don't affect me or my daughters or women as a whole. Not playing that game. Don't take that game. Don't play that game. That's like Islamophobia. It's just to shut down the dangers, the underlying dangers, the ultimate possibilities of dangers in that religion. Well, the possibilities of men and women's sport. But it's protected by law. What evidence supports the claim needed for the boundary? This is the level at which women must prepare when you go to court. Moral conviction alone is not enough. And this is where you'll see on social media, how can they not just see that women are women? They are. They're sitting there going, we know what you're saying, but we're going to take as much money as you want to give us because we're bound by the law. We'll sit here all day and say, yep, you're a woman. They shouldn't, whatever the moral argument it is. But the whole insidiousness of the whole lot of it is the law. The judge has to go with the law. Well, you'll say the laws are wrong. That's the whole point. They are wrong in terms of the morality and the protections of women. They're wrong. They made a mistake. Moral conviction alone is not enough. Public frustration alone is not enough. Biological assertion alone, obviously, may not be enough unless it is legally connected to statutory purpose, evidence, exemptions, proportionality, and the actual facts. In court, a boundary must be legally justified, not merely emotionally asserted. There you go. So you're going up emotional, you've got emotionally arrested, asserted, moral people saying, what the hell, right? And God's behind them. But you can't get past the justified legal virus that's gotten into the law. They're not going to let you past. Part 6. Why women may feel morally right but still face legal risk. Legal punishment even. Legal punishment. And this section's crucial. A woman may say, I'm defending female privacy, I'm defending female sport, I'm defending female trauma recovery, I'm defending female association, I'm defending biological reality. She may be completely sincere, she may be morally serious, she may be factually grounded. But if the current law recognises gender identity, and don't think it doesn't because it does, as a protected attribute, and if the law does not clearly preserve her specific sex-based boundary in that context, she may still face legal risk, and we're seeing it before our eyes. It's causing public outrage, but it's not changing the law yet. So the law's not always identical to moral institution. Okay, so the law's not always identical, powerful statement, to moral institution. Let me say that again. Write this down. The law is not always identical to moral intuition. Let's say intuition. It's just not identical to moral intuition. It's not even identical in this case to moral creative conclusiveness. It's gone completely over and above God himself. I mean, this is so far. See, this is atheism. This is the result of people who don't believe. Now, am I saying they should believe? No, but what I am saying is the politicians are supposed to protect us, right, under divine sovereign restraint, under the Judaistic, Christian, fundamental values that have got the Western world where it is. And when they crumble, so does the civilization. Why do you think they're attacking the Jews? Why do you think Islam hates the Jews, besides the fact that Muhammad was rejected and because his theology was wrong and his whole approach to life was wrong? Why do you think they hate the Jews? Because the whole thing, the whole civilization structure that has any principle comes from the Jews. It all comes from the Jews. Millenniums back. God gave the thing to Moses, remember? And Moses come down from the hill and smashed him on the rock, smashed him to bits and got punished. You'll never go into the promised land. Because he come down and what did he find? The people were immoral. They were worshipping a golden calf. Look at this golden calf. Look at it. Look what it's done. Men walking into female toilets, female dressing rooms, pissing all over the females' toilets and whatnot. It all comes back to the moral principles given to the Western world at the cost of the Jews. And they're still paying for it. They're going to pay for it to the end. You know, the whole end of this thing's based around Israel. They're going to try and take it out. That's why Trump knows they can't have a nuke. They'll take Israel out. Eventually, that's what's going to happen. And the Lord himself will save Israel. That's the second coming. The Christians go out. He only comes as far as the sky. That's not the second coming. That's when he calls the Christians out. We're out. Then, as Israel's about to be annihilated, the Lord himself has to save it because it's going to go. It's geographically, they're going to annihilate. It's going to go. Donald Trump's tried to prevent that, and he's done a pretty good job. I'll see you in the next talk. That's 15 minutes. Bye for now.